Hi, I'm Piano Bruce, and today I'm going to be explaining what sharps, flats and naturals are and why we use them in music. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click the magic bell icon so that you never miss an upload. I post every couple of weeks. Right, let's get into this. You probably know the basic way that you label the keys, from A to G. The white keys are also called the naturals because it's the natural form in which they are labelled. We'll talk more about why we need to know them as naturals in this video later, but for now just keep it in mind. But what about the black keys? Could I call this a C and a half because it's halfway between C and D? Or F and a half because it's halfway between F and G? It does work, and in the opposite direction you could also say E minus a half and B minus a half. However, you'll soon run into difficulties because when you start writing this down on sheet music, it doesn't show up because the minus sign is basically invisible and the plus sign just shows up as a little vertical line. This is where sharps and flats come in. A sharp is where you take the note up or to the right by a semitone. So this would be a C sharp, a D sharp, F sharp, G sharp and A sharp. Semitones are the measurement of taking baby steps on the piano. The basic idea is you just press the closest notes whether you're going up or down. So if we were travelling from C to D, it would actually be 2 semitones up because we have a black note in the middle. A flat is like a sharp but going in the opposite direction. So instead of taking it up by a semitone, you're going to take it down by a semitone, or to the left. So this would be a D flat now, and then E flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat. But hold on, doesn't that mean each of those black notes have 2 different names? And yes, you'd be correct. This is actually a C sharp, but it's also a D flat. So why do we have 2 different names for each note? It may seem a bit confusing and unnecessary, but there's actually a good reason for this. And to help you wrap your head around it, I'm going to use major scales. When we play the C major scale, we actually have no black notes. So we would say it has no sharps and no flats. But you could also say it has all naturals. Notice that each letter is only used once when we're labelling these notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C. Now let's look at the G major scale. The G major scale has 1 black note, and it goes like this. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. This works perfectly because we've used each letter only once, and we've modified F to become F sharp to make this work. The F major scale also has 1 black note, but watch what happens when I label the notes with a sharp. F, G, A sharp, C, D, E, F. We've used A twice in the labelling because we've used A and A sharp. So this doesn't work. But what if we change A sharp to a B flat instead? Now it would go F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. That resolves the problem of labelling the notes of this scale because we've only used the letters between A and G once. This also makes it much easier to distinguish between the different scales because you know that F major has 1 flat and that G major has 1 sharp. We can also use sharps or flats in notation to remind the player to play either a sharp or a flat at that particular point of the song. Okay, that's a good reason for sharps and flats to be used in music, but why have naturals? Have a look at this piece of sheet music. There's a few sharps or flats in this, but you can also see this funny looking sign. This is a natural. When a composer is writing down music, they must account for all of the notes that are played, but in the most tidiest way possible. This means that any modifications to notes, or accidentals, must be done in order for the song to be clearly written down. The basic rule is that if a note is modified in any way, you must continue to play it that way until the end of the bar that it's written in. This is where the naturals are useful. It's to tell the musician to return the note back to the natural form from which they were playing it. You'll find that naturals appear most often in songs that play in a scale that uses sharps or flats. Like in Pachelbel's Canon, which is in D major, But in a later part of the song, it actually tells you to use a C natural instead of a C sharp, which you've been previously using for the whole of the song. Top tip, learn all of your scales. Learn how many sharps or flats are in each scale so that you can easily recognise them at the beginning of a piece when you're learning to play them. You'll see at the beginning of any piece there's this key signature, and in it there's actually a series of sharps or flats that tells you what scale to play it in. Each major or minor scale has a certain number of sharps to identify it. So if you know your scales well enough, you can use it to easily recognise them in the songs that you're playing. E major uses 4 sharps, so I know that this song is in E major because I can see 4 sharps at the beginning of the song. You will also find that if you look at the position of these sharps and flats, it tells you what notes should be sharpened or flattened. In E major, you can see the sharps drawn on the lines of C, D, F and G. Just in case you needed to double check. And that's why we have sharps, flats and naturals when we're playing music. Feel free to let me know in the comments below if this helped you out, and I'll catch you in the next video in a couple of weeks. See ya!